Well, the warm weather is upon us, and once again the streets and highways will see the return of motorcycles. There is no question that the number of people who are buying and riding motorcycles is on the rise. Unfortunately, with the increasing number of motorcyclists on the highway, that means there are more accidents involving motorcycles than ever before. We're here today to talk about the legal aspects of motorcycle accidents and what you can do to protect your legal rights should you have an accident. With us today is David Farnbaugh, a personal injury attorney with the Sweeney Law Firm in Fort Wayne. Thanks for being with us.
It's great to be here today.
David, you've handled your share of motorcycle cases during your 25-year career. What is it that makes motorcycle cases different from other types of vehicle accident cases?
Well, I think one of the things that stands out about motorcycle accident cases is normally the severity of injury to the motorcycle rider. Most of these cases will involve very severe injuries and oftentimes will involve death of the rider.
If one of our viewers is involved in a motorcycle accident, that's the fault of another driver, what are some of the things the motorcyclist or his or her family should be thinking about in order to protect their legal rights?
Well, one of the things that we find about motorcycle accident cases is oftentimes the testimony of eyewitnesses is critical. Oftentimes there will be witnesses to a motorcycle collision that have different perspectives and viewpoints on what they saw in connection with a particular accident or observations about the speed of the motorcycle or the speed of the car that came in contact with the motorcyclist. So it's very important to get statements of the eyewitnesses to a motorcycle accident shortly after the accident while their memories are still fresh.
Mr. Farnbaugh, Indiana has a system called Comparative Fault that's utilized by a jury to determine who's at fault in any type of accident, including accidents involving a motorcycle. Could you explain just what that Comparative Fault system is and what the challenges are when you're representing a motorcyclist in a jury trial?
Well, comparative fault is simply a process that we use in Indiana to assign percentages of fault to the various participants in an accident. For example, if there's a simple collision where, let's say, a car pulls out in front of a motorcyclist, a jury is asked to assign how much fault there is on the driver who pulled out in front of the motorcyclist, and is asked to assign fault to the motorcyclist. For example, if there's an allegation that the motorcyclist was exceeding the speed limit. So a jury simply asked to put percentages of fault on the various parties that are involved in an accident. Some of the challenges in a motorcycle case are the speed of the motorcycle, whether the motorcyclist was paying attention to what was happening in front of them. And so these cases are particularly challenging in a jury trial because oftentimes there's a bias on the part of the jury against motorcyclists. A lot of people don't respect the rights of motorcyclists on the roadways.
Before we came on the air today, you mentioned that one of the major problems you encounter in motorcycle accident cases is the amount of insurance coverage that's typically available in these cases. Could you explain just exactly what that problem is regarding insurance coverage? Well,
as I mentioned before, in motorcycle cases, normally we're dealing with motorcyclists who have suffered severe or catastrophic injuries or motorcyclists who have died as a result of being in an accident. So these cases normally have very significant value in terms of damages. So what we frequently encounter in motorcycle cases is a motorist, the operator of a car, who causes the accident that may be insured, but they don't carry enough insurance coverage to cover all the damages. So typically we have to look at the motorcyclist underinsured motorist coverage. And frequently in our office we find that motorcyclists don't carry sufficient underinsured motorist coverage on their motorcycle policies.
David, it seems like a personal injury claim involving an injury to a motorcyclist is a lot more involved than a run-of-the-mill legal claim. So what advice would you give viewers when it comes to picking an attorney to handle a case that involves a serious injury while riding a motorcycle?
Well, I think motorcycle accident cases are unique because oftentimes in a motorcycle accident case, it'll be critical to do an investigation early in the case and interview witnesses. So it's important to get an attorney early in the game so that a proper investigation can be done. Oftentimes in motorcycle cases, it will require that the lawyer hire a very competent and well-trained accident reconstruction expert to try to put together the investigation, piece together the physical evidence, and determine how the accident happened. And that has to be done early in the process. So if I were to give advice to someone that's been involved in a motorcycle accident case, I would say hire an attorney who is experienced in handling a motorcycle accident case.
Thanks for your information and advice, David. We're glad you could join us today to share that insight and experience.
It was great to be here today.